by the president of the Las Vegas Raiders and luminary honoree Sandra Morgan, and the president of business operations for the Charlotte Hornets and Hornets Sports and Entertainment, another luminary award honoree this afternoon, Ms. Shelly Cayette-Weston. Please get ready for inside strategy and masterclass leadership. Ladies.
Yes, beautiful people. Good morning. How's everybody? Are y'all out there? It's Friday morning, Friday the 13th. Are y'all out there? Okay, so we're going to start this with, because y'all know how I do this. Okay, look at your neighbor. Just look at your neighbor. Smile at that sister.
Neighbor.
And tell that sister, I am a woman of power.
I am a woman of power.
I know how to play this game.
I know how to play this game.
I am this game.
I am this game.
Okay. Game on, sister. Game on, sisters. Let's do this. Okay, so first of all, congratulations. I know both of you well. I am so proud of you. This is a moment for me right now. I am going to try my best not to cry. But I am so proud of you. Let's give it up for you. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. In the next 28 minutes, 56 seconds, okay, we're going to have this in segments. We're going to have the preseason preparation questions, the game day playbook, the scouting report, and the post-game analysis. And then if we get time, we'll do a little 1-minute drill at the end. That sound okay? With all of you? Okay, let's do it. Okay, so, and let me just say this. This is a full circle moment for me to be talking to the two of you at this Women of Power Summit. Because when I got my job at the Dallas Mavericks, it was just a couple of weeks before the summit. And I showed up to this summit, and actually Butch and Caroline Clark, I don't know if Caroline is out there, broke the story of my appointment to that position, because of course I wanted Black Enterprise to break the story. But when I got here, they did something special for me. They had, is Pam Eel out there? Pam Eel, Kathy Francis, Katrina Adams, are they out there? These sisters, stand up please. I love y'all. These sisters poured into me like you wouldn't believe, because they knew I didn't know anything about the business of sports, and it is a business. And then the next thing I know, Pam was showing up to my job, big suitcase, they worked with me. Kathy showed up. I love the sisterhood, and I love the women of power. So it's a full circle moment for me, because this is the sisterhood that really got me going when I got into my job. So I want you to briefly walk us through your professional and personal journey and let these sisters know who you are. And Sandra, let's start with you.
Okay, I'm gonna go quickly because this timer's got a little bit of a panic here. So I'll start with my family. I've been married for, goodness, over 24 years now, 25 years. And I have a 19-year-old son, 15-year-old daughter, and so they're my life, they're my joy, a sister. My parents still live in town. I'm from Las Vegas, so shout out to Las Vegas, shout out to all the servers and everybody at the Bellagio. But my professional journey, I am Nevada really through and through, and I didn't plan on it. Trust me, when I was growing up, I always thought I was going to leave. Went to undergrad at the University of Nevada in Reno, law school here at the UNLV Boyd School of Law, and was a lawyer, litigator for the first really 10 years of my career. Worked at a mid-sized firm and had an incredible African-American male who was a partner at the firm that really kind of helped mold me. And then actually worked in-house for MGM Mirage, which is under kind of the Bellagio is under that umbrella. Went to public service, became city attorney for about 8 years. Went to AT&T, did not have as much time as Cynt, but it was a great time there, and it really helped me understand big business, right, big corporations. Then was appointed to be a Nevada Athletic Commissioner, then the Gaming Commission, and ultimately ended up chairing the Nevada Gaming Control Board, which I was the chief regulator for all of the casinos, from a casino like the Bellagio to a place like a convenience store that has 5 slot machines, and was in that role during the pandemic. Then went back to law, went to big law, Covington Burling. Worked out of their DC office post-pandemic, and ended up meeting Mark Davis because I was on the board of Fidelity National Financial, the board of Allegiant Airlines. We were trying to bring the Super Bowl to Las Vegas for the first time, and we did that in 2024. But I was on this committee about 4 years prior, so I always say you never know who you're going to meet when. Kay stayed in contact with him. There was some turnover at the Raiders on football and on business, and he ultimately ended up offering me the position, and that's how I ended up where I am today.
Great connection. Yes, you did it. Those connections matter. That was a 2-minute drill right there. You did that. Okay, Shelly, tell us about you.
Well, good morning, women of power. So glad to be here. And I do have to just go back to what you opened with, Cynt, because when I became Chief Commercial Officer, I got flowers in my office. Cynt from Cynt had not talked to her very much, just said, "Congratulations, sister, I got you." And Pam and Kathy also showed up when I became president. Now I had to hire Pam because I had to take her out of retirement. But when we talk about showing up for each other, these women live what they say. So I do want to just say that, and that's meant a lot. My family, I have a husband of 7 years and 2 little girls, soon to be 4 and 6. So we are in it. We are in the midst of it. My sister is actually here from Louisiana. My girlfriends, they know where all the bodies are buried. They are here supporting. Yes, give them a round of applause. I'm from St. James Parish, Louisiana. Small town. Okay, we got some St. James. That never happened. We have to meet after this.
Y'all gotta find each other.
I was not connected at all to basketball, but I was 6'1" in 8th grade, and my mom said, "If you're gonna play, you're gonna do it right." And so I went to an intensive AAU camp. I say that because that led me to Tulane University, where I went to college. I played Division I basketball, and when I was done, I was actually looking to get out of basketball. Just change of pace, change of scenery, and ended up in the casino industry, ironically. We're here in Vegas. My very first job was at Harris Casino, Caesars Entertainment, in database marketing. Learned a lot about consumers. If there's anyone who knows customer, it's casino industry. And so learned a lot of that, which our business now is all about customers, right? And so from there, they were restructuring, and my VP of marketing walked in the office and said, "We're moving this office to Tunica, Mississippi." I don't know if there's anyone from Tunica here, but I was not moving there after college. I thought that New Orleans was the big city. She said the New Orleans Hornets are moving back from Oklahoma City. After Hurricane Katrina, they had moved there, the whole team, and they were hiring a large portion of staff. I went to a career fair in what is now Smoothie King Arena, and I started off in a marketing role, moved over into sponsorship role, and then eventually led community investment and went throughout different areas of that business before contacting the league office in Cleveland. Took a job in Cleveland and said move to Cleveland to turn out, okay, we got somebody from everywhere. So I went to Cleveland in sponsorship to turn the business around, an organization with great people. Started doing that in career, eventually became Chief Commercial Officer, running all of sales for the business before we got some phone calls and heard about the opportunity to create a transformed franchise in Charlotte, which is the Charlotte Hornets, which is where I am today.
I love it. I love it. Give up your sister. Okay, so before we get into your actual playbook and the scope of your responsibilities, briefly tell us what core values just really ground you. Because when you showed up to your jobs, you showed up standing on a foundation. So, Sandra, tell us about yours.
I think integrity first and foremost, and it's not just because of my regulatory background, but because I needed people to understand if I'm doing something, I'm doing it because it's the best thing for the team and for the organization, and it's for the best thing for my own character, my integrity. So I always say lead with integrity first. We just need to have a vision, a mission, but if we're doing things and we're doing it for the right reasons and the right way, we'll all make money and be successful, but we have to kind of stay true to who we are.
I love that. There's a difference between doing things right and doing the right thing.
Right.
So integrity matters. Okay, Shelly.
Definitely agree with integrity. And I think the other one for me would be authenticity. I think about successful. I had a president once, over 20 years ago. I went in his office and I said, he was a beloved president. And I said, people love you. Can you tell me your secret? And he said, Shelly, I'll know who my real friends are when I no longer have this title. And I thought that really resonated for me because the title can and go, come and go. But for me, I just actually had dinner with someone from New Orleans that 20 years ago did our first Chevron deal when I was in New Orleans. He has nothing to get from me. I have nothing. I don't need his money now, right? He and his wife, we have a great relationship. And I just think authenticity of how you do business follows you throughout your career.
I love that. Okay, so describe for these powerful sisters the scope of your responsibilities, because when we often think of sports, we think of the players, the competition, but there is a business of sport, and it is a multi-trillion-dollar business. So describe your responsibilities, Shelly.
So the Mavericks, however, it's fun. It's a fun industry, but it is busy. It's a $3 billion franchise, right? So it's a business. We have over 1,100 employees. So 300 of those are directly with Hornets in our games, marketing, IT, HR, all the functions of any business. We have those verticals. In addition to that, we have another, again, 800 that are part-time staff. So guest services, if you go to an arena, the people that are changing over the stagehands, we work with unions and different entities like that. I think it's important because when you think of the grand scope of it, all of those employees that still they think about Hornets, right? We have over 150 events every year, concerts. So we just had New Edition in Charlotte. It's a great concert, Boys to Men New Edition. So not only do we have 40 home games, but we have, again, another 150 events, of which we have concerts and events that we put on. So that's the major scope of it. But at the end of the day, our job is to support customers, to create great experiences for people to come back into our arena every single night and have a great experience.
Awesome.
Yeah, just to echo on Shelly, it's very similar, but obviously we don't have as many games as the NBA. Being here in Las Vegas, for me, because I'm a local, we had to really make sure that people understand it's the Las Vegas Raiders. So fan engagement and growing our fan base is first and foremost, even though the Raiders are an international brand. But every day is different, and that's truly what I love about my job, right? This week, a lot of free agency movement for those of you that follow, so really kind of more on football than I normally would this week. But day to day, it's really our partners, our corporate partners are really incredibly important. Allegiant Stadium, we are the only place here in the state of Nevada that can hold over 60,000 people. So we're constantly making sure we're programming that. We're going to host the CFP next year. We're going to host the Final Four for NCAA. The first time we'll have NCAA basketball will be in Allegiant Stadium in 2028. And we hope to bring that big game back from the NFL, in a couple of years as well. So every day is different. It could be upgrading different places in our stadium, because we know, even though we're partners with places like MGM Resorts, they have such a high level of concierge and hospitality. We want to make sure that's seamless throughout the stadium. So I'm responsible for that ultimately as well, and making sure we're having those blockbuster concerts. New Edition was great there. We've been there for a while. To have like a Beyonce and Taylor Swift, WrestleMania. We hosted Canelo and Bud Crawford here. So I'm constantly making sure people don't just see us as a stadium. We're truly part of the community.
Exactly.
Community impact is very, very important to me. It's personal for me because, again, I grew up here, so it was the first time we had the stadium open as a voting site, which I hope everyone in here knows is very, very important. And our voters at that site actually skew younger than any other place in Clark County, which means we're hitting a new demographic here. So we have to constantly, I feel like it's important to constantly think of ways on how we kind of redefine these roles. We have a greater sense of purpose. I don't want to say greater, a different sense of purpose and community, I think, than possibly other CEOs and presidents of teams, because it's really important about lifting kind of everyone else up around us. So that's my kind of day-to-day, but it does definitely change based on the surprise of the moment. And that's a good way to say it.
Yes, and you're responsible for profit and loss for the team.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's about that bottom line, community, it's all of that. Okay, so tell us about one challenge that you faced when you stepped into your job. And I want to talk about how you learned from your challenges, what makes you just not jump ship and say, I'm out of here. I remember when I got the job, one of the leaders who reported to me told my team that I was a 90-day stunt, that Mark Cuban was just doing a PR move. So we had to address him, and he was gone in 89 days, and I stayed for 7 years. Okay, so talk about what are the challenges that you faced when you got there.
Goodness, very similar, not as bold to say 90 days, but definitely it's just because the Raiders went through all this stuff. That's the only reason why she's in there.
Mm-hmm.
Just people just make assumptions about us. That they're so free to share them that they don't of other people that don't look like us.
Right.
So that was definitely a challenge that I had, and I think we all will have forever. But I often say, Mama didn't raise a quitter, so yeah, dude, if you think I'm leaving, I'm not. And I think the ultimate way that I handled it is I've always been underestimated. That's fine, continue to do so, but my results will speak for themselves. My objective results, whether it be just not only raising gross revenue, raising that net income year over year, every single year that I have had the privilege of leading this team. And so, they can say what they want, especially on, social and things. I try not to read it. I'm going to be honest with you, I do from time to time, because I need to make sure what people are saying, but it's created a good chip on my shoulder because it continues to motivate me. And I know that doesn't necessarily work with everyone, but it does motivate me to know that my goal and my task is obviously to do whatever we can to help bring a Super Bowl to the team,
Exactly.
but also make the organization as profitable as I can. So, the doubters will doubt, and I think that the work and the people that I've been able to surround myself with to invest in the team is how we'll be able to prove them wrong.
Yeah, because you can't prove them wrong.
Right.
You can prove them wrong.
And some people had to separate the organization as well, let's be real, right?
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
if you're not going to be able to support me as I lead the team, then maybe it's not the place for you.
Exactly. Sometimes you have to help people to the door. Give them a little assistance. You want it all. You want it to work for everybody.
Of course.
And I always say, in my 45 years in business, I've never fired anybody. People fire themselves. They opt out. They opt out. And sometimes they don't want to fit with the culture. And you have a job to do because you have people that you have to serve.
Absolutely.
And you both have big organizations. So talk about one of your challenges and how you address it, and how you stay encouraged and not just give up and go and do something else.
Well, I would start with, I think, you learn your superpowers as you go through life. I think one of mine is solving problems. There's no problem you can give me that I literally think, or know that I will solve. Back to the city building part of our jobs, because people see Charlotte Hornets as an NBA team. It's fun, it's great. Again, most people don't know about the arena, but we are responsible for that. So when I walked into the role, I was responsible for a $245 million renovation of our arena, Spectrum Center at the time. While that was going on, we also we started construction on a $170 million practice facility, because our goal and mission is to be a premier NBA franchise, and to do that, we have to have world-class facilities. Now, I'm not in construction. I'm not a contractor. So when you think about those massive projects, there's a lot can go wrong. When I walked in, I think 3 months after I started, someone walked into my office and said, we're $80 million over budget. So when you talk about problems.
Oh, just a little 8 million. Just a little 8 million.
Yeah.
And you could tell me when it was maybe like 1 million.
Yes. No, there's.
Wait until we got to 8. And then you give the sister the problem. I got you.
Hand it over.
I got you, girl.
But what I can report, I'll get to the end of that, is not only did we get back to budget, we were $3 million under budget.
There's one thing you know how to do.
For some of the people, then it became assessing who's leading the project, right? Getting more engaged in the project than I had been in detail. You have to empower people and trust, but there's also accountability and a job to do. It's also holding accountability to contractors and architects, and we had to fire a few along the journey, and have the ability and boldness to say that you're gonna have to empower me to make those decisions if you want to get to the end result. Right?
Yes.
So we were able to do that and do it successfully. But it was not without a few angst and a few glasses of wine, I will tell you, but we got there.
Oh, yeah, you'll get the big problem. But I love how you handle that.
I know, empowerment, trust, accountability. I feel like those three are really
Yes.
the takeaway, because I do feel, and I just want to say this with even sometimes with female leaders, we're so used to doing everything on our own, right? Because you're a problem solver, you know how it needs to be fixed, so it's like you want to do it. We have to delegate as leaders.
Have to.
And you have to empower people to be able to do that. I think I love empower. I'm going to take that.
Yeah.
Empower and trust.
Well, we just can't do everything.
No, you
I
can't.
talk about the crystal balls and the rubber balls. You have to know what's important, what is it that you have to do, what is it that if you drop it, it shatters and never comes back. And then what can you throw to somebody else to handle? I literally have a crystal ball and 3 rubber balls on my desk, because I'll throw it to somebody and take it away. So you can't do everything. You have to trust your people. Okay, so let's talk about the times that you've walked into a room, and there have been many, and you're the only one in there that looks like you. And so have anybody out there dealt with that? Okay. You're the only one, and I know sometimes that could be intimidating. I personally like the uniqueness, because you have everybody's attention, because usually everybody's looking at you. And then I like to give them something to look at and then show them something, okay? It's like, now that I have your attention, okay? So how do you deal with that without being intimidated?
Well, Cynt, that's my other superpower. Listen, I said I was 6'1" in 8th grade. I hated with a passion being tall. all through, because no, boys aren't tall in middle school, right? No one's tall. When I got to college, I got on campus and I was like, oh my God, I've entered heaven. People love height, right? And I say that is important because we think of some of the things that we think about as a disadvantage are actually the things that are our most advantage in our careers. I am 6'3" in stature. I'm a black woman. Every room, as many of you, every room I'm in, I'm the only one, right? And I look at that as everyone has to remember me.
Yes.
Now, I don't want them to remember my height. I don't want them to remember my race. I don't want them to remember my gender. I then give them something that they're going to remember me by, which is the connection point. In many cases, there are no connections to people, right? We just don't have a lot in common. But you have to find it. So I don't love baseball, but my husband is a scout for the Yankees. When I go in meetings or if I'm working with political leaders that we don't have a ton in common, usually baseball comes up. So I start talking about my husband. And when I walk out of that room, they don't remember my height or my race. They remember that connection to the Yankees. And so when I'm going to call them back to set the next meeting, that's what they remember me by. And so our unique differences, I believe strongly, are our advantages, and we just have to take it, but make sure you determine what you're giving the connection point that somebody remembers you by.
Yes, give them something to remember. I love it.
Absolutely. You know, I mentioned I'm from Nevada, and so just looking at our population, many of us are the only ones in the room, and I definitely think it's an advantage. And I often remember people say it's not what you tell people or what you say to them, it's really how you make people feel. And being the way that we are and having to connect with so many different people and often being that only person in the room, you're just naturally, I think at a younger age, able to find connections with people. So I'm always looking at what people have in common, different obviously information or hobbies and things like that to connect a little bit more on that personal level before you dive right into the deal. But I'm with you. When you walk in, I'm already prepared to know if I walk in, I may likely be the only black woman, and then I'm like, yeah, let's get this thing going, and I'm going to give you something that you're going to remember. And you know, one of the best, it wasn't a compliment, I knew they didn't mean it that way, but I'll never forget, it was an older gentleman, and he didn't know that he was one of those, Mr. Thomas is on the phone, hold please, and he didn't know that I was on the other line, and he was like, I remember meeting her, and guess what? She's African American. I'm sitting there on hold thinking, he was so surprised about the first time he met me. He didn't know I was black, but was saying good things about me even though he didn't hear it. It was just one of those bizarre moments, but I thought that's another time where you take what you think they think could be a disadvantage, you flip it to a positive, and we always have to make, lemonade out of lemons, and using our authenticity, our difference to that advantage.
That's right, flip it to a positive.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so let's move to the scouting report, okay? We have the cherished obligation, I really do believe it is cherished, to scout and develop our replacements because we have to pass the baton. There's some people out there that will replace us. How do you do it? Sandra.
Well, I'm gonna brag a little bit. So I was the first black city attorney, I'm not bragging about this, first black city attorney in the state of Nevada, first black chair of the Gaming Control Board here in Nevada. I'm not the last in either one of those. There was black city attorney for the city of Las Vegas after me, and a chair as well. So I always say that is not, being the first is not the kind of monumental moment, it's making sure that you're not the last. So I'm very proud of that. I definitely, obviously hope and will cultivate, leadership to hopefully follow and not be, so I'm not the only black female president in the NFL. I have, very, very proud to have a senior leadership team where more than half are women and that half are black. I have a black female chief sales officer, a black female senior vice president of government and community relations, and an African American male who's a CFO. And I say that not to just say we're all black, but they're obviously very talented and skilled and competent in what they do because of the revenue numbers I just mentioned, earlier. So it's really about just giving, people an opportunity. And I often say, as we all know, there are no majority team owners in the NFL that are black. But if Mark Davis didn't put me in this position, I wouldn't be able to develop and build the team that I have that truly reflects the diverse fan base of the Raiders. So that's, I feel like I definitely have a responsibility to do so. I think we all do, and it has to be intentional. And yes, we all have HR teams, and it's that the hiring team, the promotion team, the recruitment team must be reflective of everyone. I'm talking about age, demographics, race, gender, even just area where they live, right, in the U.S. So that it has to be intentional, and that's something that we have to do in the team.
And we get to do it. We get to do it. Shelly.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is intentionality. There's no business plan anyone ever executed that just happened without writing it down, putting it on paper, and putting some active intentionality behind it. I'm really lucky, I think, in our organization, our chairman, Rick Snell and Gabe Placken, they hired me. Our head of basketball operations, Jeff Peterson's African-American. Our head coach happens to be African-American. We were one of the first teams to have all African-American front office staff.
Yes.
I think Detroit was down, and we were the first. I tell you all that to say our owners, actually, they care about talent. The reason that I got the job is because we were top 8 when I was in Cleveland in revenue out of 30 NBA teams in a market that was 26, right? We overperform, so they care about talent. And I think I look at it as the same way. The biggest intentionality I think that we can do to help is access. So I block off time actually right now every other week on my calendar, and my admin knows anyone that comes and they want a job shadow, I need them to see what's possible. I didn't know what the business of sports was. I got into it, learned it, loved it, but I want people to get access to that. And about offering opportunity, there was a young woman that reached out to me. She just graduated from Harvard, looking to have her next job. She can't break into sports. Now, some of it is you have to have a job opening to start with, right? But I just let her do a project for us to look at our retail structure and where we want to decide to use it, what vendor we want to decide. She's now going to have an active project that she can take to a team and say, look what I've done, right? And I have something tangible to show from it. So I think a lot of it is intentionality and access.
Yeah, opening those doors, exactly. Okay, so we all said yes to some pretty big jobs, okay? What advice do you have for the women who are out here who are staring at a bold but intimidating opportunity? Give them some advice.
Yeah, if not yes now, then when? Would be my advice. I ironically, when I was in New Orleans, I was in sponsorship managing accounts. I was on the activation relationship side, and my boss of revenue came in and said, I want you to move into sales. You've been having some success. I think you should be in sales. And I said, no, absolutely not. He came back a year later and he said, Shelly, I think you should do sales. I said, absolutely not. Like, I thought of, car sales, and I don't want to do that. The irony in all of that is 20 years later, I was the first chief commercial officer leading all sales for an NBA team. So I tell you, I've never said no again. Sometimes I say yes and then figure it out after, and that's what I would encourage. That would be my advice.
Yes, say yes.
Just, why not? Let's stop thinking about barriers and why you can't and what's going to hold you back. Just go for it. And the worst that can happen is that maybe it doesn't work out, but that's still a learning experience. I think, sometimes we tend to sell ourselves short, right? Oh, I don't have this skill set. I may not do this. I may not fit in. I'm not sure if I want to move. Just go for it. Again, the worst thing that can happen is that maybe it didn't work out, but especially if it's a big opportunity that's staring you in the face, you have to take it. I had a female leader in sports that said, yeah, I may want to do something with this team, but I'm not sure about that one because I've heard some things about just the structure. Why are you letting what you've heard from someone else even prevent you from that opportunity?
Right, you don't even know.
You can be the one that can fix it. Right. Think about it that way. So I would say absolutely go for it. And if somebody has the confidence in you to even offer you that position, you should have that same confidence in yourself.
And that's what we have to always remember. When they show up to talk to us about these opportunities, we didn't find them. And that's what I used to tell Mark all the time. Something would happen. I said, oh, you call me. Don't get it quick. You call me. Okay? It's like, say yes to it and make it happen. Okay, so here's my last question. And then we'll open up for Q&A. Our industry is measured by wins and losses. Okay? By the record on the court and on the field. How do you keep, personally, a winning spirit when things aren't going well and the team could be losing?
I feel like I'm being attacked right now.
No. How do you keep a winning spirit?
On our record? No, I'm kidding.
No, I don't even know what your record is because I'm so busy watching the Mavs. I'm trying to help them get.
In all seriousness, we've had some challenges on the field, but we're definitely fixing all of that now. And it's a really good question because I will say I did not appreciate that my first season in.
Right.
I was like, what's the problem, guys? We're still booking events. We're still doing things. We have to keep a positive mindset. I do have a positive mindset, and I had to make it a point to walk around the building, talk to the sales team. You have calls of people saying, I can't believe you let so-and-so in as quarterback. You guys need to change that. Or, your offensive coordinator's doing this. They're getting those calls every single day. It's dragging them down.
Exactly.
So I had to make a point to go in, to talk about the great work that they're doing, to give, attaboys and you're incredible in all the other events and things that we're bringing in. Because the Raiders now, because we run Allegiant Stadium, it's truly 24/7. But those 10 home games are what we do, and that's our game day, that's our big moment. And so when those aren't going the way we would like them to go, we definitely have to think about different things that we can do to motivate our team. So I always focus on being a champion, making sure we have a good positive culture, and getting out there in the community. So I'll do things where we're taking out, we're doing team retreats, we're just doing and celebrating things that are off the field.
Yes.
And encouraging them, and that's the best way I think it's best, at least for me, to keep things stable and optimistic.
Right, because you can't afford to get down. You have too many people that you have to keep.
We can only control what we can control,
Exactly.
and we don't have pads on and we're not on that field, so we're
Exactly.
going to work on everything else.
I love it.
Yeah, look, any team is about wins and losses. Every team, I don't care how many banners are in the rafter, they win and they lose. They have winning seasons and they have losing seasons. I think our jobs are to make sure we have sustainability of the business throughout that. So, when I went to Cleveland in 2012, they were not winning games. For those of you that don't follow, I'll just say they weren't winning games. There's 80 of them, and I think we won 15 that year. Think about that, that's a lot of losing. I found an opportunity to really dive in and connect with the market, the community, and get other reasons for people to really love you and build that equity towards the franchise, right? That's what we're doing in Charlotte. So we have to create a platform where people see winning despite what happens on the court. When it happens on the court, it's great, let's ride the wave.
Oh, it's sweet.
But it's much deeper than that. And I think another piece of advice I would just say is sometimes you gotta go in a room with no windows intentionally and close the door, because you gotta get yourself motivated and think about decisions that matter to you, no one else. And I think when you can do that, it makes you more energized to come and have a clear mind to sustain some of the things, because it's ups and downs all the time in any industry. And so you just have to keep a clear mind.
I love it. Fabulous. Okay, let's give it up for these sisters. So we are going to open this up for questions. And so do we have microphone, mic runners? Okay, the microphone is right here. They had to turn up the lights for us, sister. I didn't see it. Okay. I saw that earlier. Okay, so if you have a question, I think we have time for maybe 2 or 3 questions. And so while you are coming, I have a little 2-minute drill, 1-minute drill that I'm going to do with you while we're getting the questions. 7 a.m. meeting or 5 p.m. meeting?
7.
7 a.m.
7 a.m., okay. Sweet or savory?
Savory.
Sweet.
Savory.
Savory. Colorful attire or basic black?
Colorful.
Silver and black.
Basic.
Okay, talk, text, or email?
Text.
Talk.
Okay? No emails for a week or no meetings for a week?
No
No
meetings
meetings,
for a week.
please.
Meetings? What do y'all say?
Email.
No agreement. Okay. Sneakers, pumps, or ankle boots?
Sneakers.
Sneakers and ankle boots.
Sneakers usually.
Cookies or crackers?
Bugs.
Let's see. I'm gonna come back to these at the end. Because I need to get these answers. Okay, who do we have here? Sister, talk to us.
Testing 1, 2.
We got you there.
Good morning, ladies. Thank you so much for your work and your service to the world. What would you suggest? Oh, my name is Cynthia. I'm a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. 25 years. We have the registration sponsorship. So, what would you say to women coming in that are interested in getting into your industries, the sports and entertainment industries, particularly basketball and football, or if you have any other suggestions, where is there actually a need for women to be participating, that they may not be participating now?
Everywhere, but I'm gonna turn it over to them. Okay.
I was actually talking to someone that they say they want to get into sports. I wanted to get into football. I want to get into football. And I had to explain what we do every day, you would do in every other business. Shelly mentioned it's finance, it's HR, it's sales, it's marketing. And to again, Shelly's point when you were with Harrah's, that rewards program revolutionized the gaming industry, right? So when you talk about marketing, our job is to get fans and to get customers. And so I would say, everyone wants to shoot for that spot. There's only 32 teams, right, in the NFL. There's a limited number of NBA teams, MLS teams. Just get into the business and say, this is how I can help fan acquisition. This is how I can help customer acquisition. Really kind of dig into the data and marketing and analytics. I think that's where we're going, because there's only so many limited jobs that you have to be able to explain how your skill set would transfer to the sports and entertainment industry, which is the same as any other business.
Back to that.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you for the question. Let's give it up for Morgan Stanley, the registration sponsor. Morgan Stanley gave us those badges, okay? Come back, Morgan Stanley. Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. What's your name?
My name is April Weathers.
Hi, April.
I work with 110, and the question I wanted to ask you both is around what you see moving beyond women and women of color specifically being involved in the front office on men's sports, and what you're seeing in terms of how women's sports are growing and where the business is now becoming a much bigger part of that equation, and also how do women who are entering those sports see that equity come back to them, since it is also turning out to be a very lucrative operation.
Love it.
Yeah. Well, listen, we actually put out a bid to get a WNBA team in Charlotte. It's a great platform, obviously, and has been around for quite some time. It's a business, though. It doesn't matter if it's women's sports, if it's soccer, if it's hockey, if it's baseball. It's a business, to her point. It's no different than any other business. So I think the interesting thing is that there's a lot more women in the WNBA because of the nature of the industry, obviously of the team. But in NBA, you're starting to see more now also. I think we've got to put that to the side and just look at the business. How do you make the business run? If you're in WNBA, the challenges are a little bit different. In the NBA right now, we're facing a media challenge. People are cutting cords, and how do they watch the products, and how are we going to manage it? How do we control that? WNBA, we're trying to figure out funding, right? And so it's a lot. It's the same industry per se, but I wouldn't look at it and try to be particular. Just get into it. If that's of the interest, get into it, and they all have business problems that you can find solutions for.
I love it. Just get into it. Be the game, sister. Be the game.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, who do we have next?
I'm Janice Woodruff. I'm Associate General Counsel at T Connectivity.
All right, Associate General Counsel.
We are also one of the sponsors today.
Thank you. Thank you.
My question is for Sandra. I wanted to understand, you had success in traditional legal roles. What really motivated your decision-making process in stepping away from the traditional legal role and moving into and pursuing executive leadership in sports?
Great question. It is a great question. I fear, though, that my answer may not be as inspiring as you wish, or you would hope. On all seriousness, I was a litigator initially, and when I went to the city, I was a city attorney. I was at a point where I could pick and choose which cases I wanted to argue. And I had some cases in the Nevada Supreme Court, but I had one in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and it was interesting. We won that case. It became a reported opinion, and just at that moment, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. It was a weird, almost maybe a goal in the back of my mind that I didn't realize I had. And when that was done, and nobody really even knows that, right? And when that was done, I just thought, I don't think I want to litigate anymore. And I really enjoyed, even when I was in your role as a general counsel, or even before that as litigator, I always enjoyed getting to be a part of the business and getting behind the decision-making process with that CEO or with that president. It was always just more natural for me to work a part of a team. And at that point, that's when I said, I'm going to actually focus more on management. And as I moved up, I was able to kind of pivot and do that.
Great question. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Who do we have next? Hi.
I'm Kimberly Hill.
Hi, Kimberly Hill.
Hi.
How you doing, sister?
I'm well. I'm at Google. Shout out
All right,
to
Google.
presenting sponsor.
Presenting sponsor. Everybody say Google.
Okay, I have to. I'm sorry. My question is around access, because I know, Shelly, you spoke about that later on. And as a fan of sports, I grew up playing it. I feel like our community consumes it, we partake in it, but we're not really on the ownership side. So can you talk from a high level or even maybe detailed, like how do we make that transition to ownership, even if it is from a minority standpoint, because nobody is majority right now. But
Yeah.
hopefully that we can get there.
We literally were just talking about this backstage. One of our minority owners, we actually have about 18 with the Charlotte Hornets. One of them, Damian Mills, is ironically from 15 minutes from my hometown in St. James Parish. Can you believe, talk about the irony? But it's an opportunity. Look, you've got to obviously have the wealth. I think now what you're seeing, even in investment and banks now, I have a lot of conversation with some of our banking partners that are going in circuits and talking to different platforms. We're talking to MLB or baseball or different, or again, other entities, because one, you have to have the openness the position has to be open. You know, teams aren't just adding owners all the time. And then you have to have you want to be in the right ownership group too. You don't want to just be in any ownership group, right? And so I think that's a learning process. But you see more of that. I hear a lot more conversations. We have a long way to go to get there. And I think it's going to be by people coming together, sharing information and what they know. Again, I know of a few of them, but it's a process. It's a journey that we're on, and there's a lot of work to do there.
Absolutely.
Would love to work with you to work that out.
All right, we got you, sister.
Thank you.
You are quite welcome. Okay, so let me wrap up my is that it? Okay, let me wrap up my 2-minute drill. Okay? So, one thing on your bucket list. One thing that's on your bucket list. If you have a bucket list. What's on there?
Isn't that a shame? We need time
Yeah.
to look at that.
I need to, maybe I need to get through with these two, this 4 and 6-year-old, to get them through high school.
No, that's it. That's it. I was going to say that. To get the kids out the house.
Retirement that Shelly. So I will say I always wanted to learn.
South Korea.
Over here. I'm a